Paul Ryan is afraid of Mr. Rogers. He is. He really is. Paul Ryan is afraid of Mr. Rogers. He thinks that every time he turns on his TV and puts it on PBS, that Mr. Rogers is going to pop out of the screen and just go and scare him. So he's actually afraid of Mr. Rogers. And there's people outside making noise again. Because, I gotta make noise, it's my constitutional right. But Paul Ryan, he's terrified of Mr. Rogers. One of the least scary people ever to be on TV. And, okay, now some idiot is revving up their engine. And they just do it for meanness. Okay, now look at this. There's this guy out there. This is what's really contributing to the depletion of the ozone layer. There's this guy. He's like in the alley next to my building. He has this huge pickup truck, and he was revving up the engines, and now he's parked it. He has it idling in the alley, or not really that alley. It's in that parking lot, and half of it's hanging out in the alley. So if anybody comes down the alley, they're just going to crash right into it. And he has it idling in the parking lot, and he got out of his truck. Now he's walking around, not doing anything. He just has it sitting there with its lights, in the headlights on in broad daylight, and it's idling, and he's just wasting energy. But see, Paul Ryan suffers from Mr. Rogers phobia. Now, the one thing I could ever remember being afraid of on Mr. Rogers, I remember back when I was back in my day, there was this, at the end of Mr. Rogers, they would have like a laugh from the episodes that had, or that's what somebody told me, it was just the episodes. There were several episodes of Mr. Rogers where they had the actress who played the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz on there. They had that actress was on there, and at the end of the show, they would play like the Wicked Witch's laugh, going like that. And that was about the only thing I could remember being afraid of on Mr. Rogers. Like at the end, very end of Mr. Rogers, they would show like a drawing of the trolley on a track with like some trees sitting there. And it was like the end of the closing theme. And they would have the Wicked Witch laughing, going and that was the only thing on Mr. Rogers I could remember being afraid of. But it was cool. And the thing is, other people remember it too, because I remember a long time later, and I was probably like 10 or 11 when this happened. I was like too old for Mr. Rogers when this happened. I was probably about 10 or 11. I was in the car with my family, and we were like driving around somewhere in Cincinnati, and we saw like a park or a house or something that looked like I think we drove past this park, and it looked just like the drawing at the end of Mr. Rogers, except that it didn't have a trolley, but it had like the same type of trees, and I think it might have had like a park bench or something. And I said, that looks like that thing they used to have on the end of Mr. Rogers that had the Wicked Witch laughing. But and part of it did appear on YouTube. Finally it did show up on YouTube, but it didn't have the Wicked Witch laughing. But it had the version of it without the laughing, though. It finally showed up on YouTube just a couple of years ago. But Yeah, so how can anybody possibly be afraid of Mr. Rogers? Of all the things to be afraid of, that's like being afraid of calculators, or balloons, or being afraid of Scotch tape, or being afraid of Pop-Tarts, or glue, or light bulbs, or garbage cans, or road atlases, or traffic lights, or records, or VCRs. It's like being afraid of one of those things. That guy with the pickup truck's finally gone now. He finally sped away. So he's not endangering the lives of fellow motorists now and stinking up the air with exhaust. But man, that debate last night was funny though. That debate, that was even better than the Big Bird debate. The debate last night. That was better than the Big Bird debate. And Paul Ryan kept lying about everything. Every time he opened his mouth, it was another lie. It was. It really was. So of course but you go to the news websites, there's nothing about it. It's like deafening silence on the news websites. It's like they don't want to remind people of that debate. But except the Wall Street Journal, of course. The Wall Street Journal, of course, is praising Paul Ryan. There's an article here. Never fear, Congressman Ryan. The Wall Street Journal has your back. All they're talking about, though, it's basically just the Wall Street Journal talking about Paul Ryan, about how Paul Ryan talked about Canada being an overseas power, like it's some big remote land, when really it's not that far. Yeah. And there's a Facebook page now called Save PBS, and it has a big picture of and they took a picture of Big Bird and superimposed it between Obama and Mitt Romney during the Big Bird debate. And it's a Facebook page called Save PBS. And some right-winger responded on it. He says, there won't be a PBS in Big Bird if we have 4 more years of Obama. He said that. He actually said that. But this is just the latest story of Republican politicians being afraid of PBS characters.